hello, everybody, and welcome to the Companion to the Companion. We are on episode 5, and it is 2/20/93 from the Roxy Theater in Atlanta, Georgia. Hi, Ian.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm doing great.
I am. I'm doing okay. Getting excited about talking about the show. It's been a long time since I listened to it, and it was something.
It was something, and you make a good point at the beginning. I shouldn't say I'm doing great. I think we're all kind of doing okay, and I am okay. But I am very excited to talk to you, especially about this show. So fun, and I think this should be a good conversation.
Yes.
Well, where do we?
I think we're all doing okay.
We're all doing okay. So yeah, 2/20/93. I would imagine everyone's probably heard this show except for those listeners that are just kind of getting into Phish and will be discovering this. And this is a unique hybrid type rock and roll concert, comedy, improv, psychedelic classic rock show. I don't know. It's hard to describe the experience that is to be had here. It's, again, unique from everything we've heard before. It's a new style of performance and improvisation that Phish has kind of stumbled upon and starting to work out, which they will develop over the next couple of years. And there's a lot of emotions going on. There's a lot of energy. Just to give you a little historical context, they're in their heads making up for something that happened the previous year in Atlanta, Georgia.
Busted water pipes.
And they had to end the show early, and they were coming back for a 3-night stand, and in their heads thinking, we're gonna make it up to these guys. And it was a 3-night run, like I said. This is the middle night. The previous night had some really cool stuff. They were definitely on, but it wasn't a groundbreaking show by any means. But you can tell, or I feel like I'm projecting here, but they knew from the opening notes of this show that they were going to pull off something special at some point.
Yeah, and this is the first show that's officially released. You can get it in a box set. You can go listen to it on Live Phish. I know the band leaked the tapes pretty quickly. And I really want to get into it because there's a very interesting thread on Fishnet that's just called Brilliant or Slopfest. And a lot of people end up siding on it's both scenario. Mm-hmm. My hot take of the whole thing is I lean towards Slopfest. Mm-hmm. I started racking my brain after listening to it, especially set 2 today, really fresh in my mind. When I was younger and I first got this tape, this was lore. This was a big deal.
Sure. And
it sounded great. There were soundboards out there. And now, with perspective, it's not for me. And so I hunted. This period of Phish was strange because 4/16/92 was the last episode 4, and this is ways from there. But between that, they did all their opening stuff in summer '92. They opened for Santana. They did the Horde Festival stuff, and then that winter '92 run and the New Year's run didn't really yield anything big. So you kind of jump into spring '93. If you're picking the 100 shows. And there's some shows around this one that are great. The one we'll discuss in the next episode is Gamehenge, and I think that one's pivotal. Mm-hmm. But there's that 3/14 Colorado show mm-hmm. that has that great Yem. I thought that show top to bottom is great. Mm-hmm. And there's also the 3/30/93 show, which I remember you and I listening to the first time together. I remember somehow we got bootlegs, maybe from Ken.
They were from Brian, actually.
I don't remember.
You've brought up Brian before, and yeah, he had some really nice stats of he had 3:30, 3:31, and then he also had the following nights with the horns as well. Yep. So he had that little West Coast run. That was great.
Yeah, and the 30th still sticks with me. I actually went and listened to a couple songs from it to remind myself. Like that Mike's is pure comedy. The Stash is outrageous. Like I guess I know why this show falls into the category of lore, but on a re-listen, I had a lot of issues.
Okay, well, let's get into it. I like this. Let's butt some heads.
I'm excited. The first thing I just wanted to mention, they have each little section. I really love how the Phish Companion's laid out. And in it, there's Winter Spring '93, and it says Dusting a Few Off. And there's a really interesting intro that's written by Craig DeLuca. DeLuca? DeLucia.
I like that guy.
But it starts with the most important debut of early 93 wasn't a song, it was an instrument. Page wheeled out his baby grand piano on 2/3/93, and Phish debuted the Beautiful Stones classic Loving Cup. And for me, the star of this show is the baby grand. I've been talking about it every episode. I feel like it's lacking and missing, and it really steals the show for me in this.
Right.
Like right off the rip, the second song, that Foam, is gorgeous.
Right.
And it's all Page for me.
Yeah, let's just stop for a second and give a shout out to our first Foam. I love it. This is the first Foam we've had an opportunity to discuss, and yeah,
really,
this is a song that whenever there's a new release or I get any show, like if there's a Foam on it, that's the first song I listen to. I don't know why that is, but there's just the improvisation that happens in the second half of Foam. Just when it goes from Page into Trey, and the way it's always a little bit different, and the interplay that happens. It reminds me a lot of A Beautiful Simple Jam, where it's like Phish at its purest. When I think of all the different styles of music they play, like that type of jamming is a style that I've never heard any band player come anywhere close to. And it's just the second I hear it, I'm just like, that's Phish right there. And
it's compositionally, it's very sneaky complicated.
Yeah,
there's a lot of really difficult, strange things. And I think that, especially this show, Golgi kicks out, like great opener. In the shows, it's on paper, it's perfect.
Right.
Golgi is the perfect opener. And then when it hits Foam, I think that Foam has such a massive dynamic range. It starts out, it's complicated, it's funky. It drops down a bit for Page's solo, and then between the Page and Trey solo especially, it gets pin drop silent.
Right.
And that kind of stuff, I feel like it's maturing as a band.
Right.
And further in their career, they did this to, 20,000 seat arenas. They are pin drop silent. And, you have all those people that are yelling shush and shushing the audience. Come on, guys. Let's just... The shushing's as bad as the screaming.
I can hear you too.
Yes, but I digress. I enjoyed this Foam. It was good. And the baby grand really jumped at me.
Yeah, I agree. I thought the set list, especially from the first set, is really kind of like classic, just hitting you're like, yeah, that's great. Why wouldn't I want to hear that? The Golgi was very tight. I love the way, at least on my headphones, it had this like perfect opening chime where all four of them just like hit it exactly perfect. And and that was a really cool way to open the show. The Foam, obviously, I loved. You mentioned it before, but yeah, the composition, and especially in these early years where you could really hear what's happening, and on the Junta version as well, it is quite impressive when you pay attention to the composition. I loved the sort of the speeding up towards the end. I thought that was really cool, and then just kind of hitting the sloth hard right out of that, and I thought Mike sounded really great in the sloth, real snappy.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed Mike's playing throughout. I will say about this show in that I agree that there's a lot to debate about the second set. But I do feel like all the members of the band are playing really well. Like it would be hard to pick an MVP. I feel like they all have standout moments, and that's cool. I love seeing shows like that.
Well, this is where, I agree on the first three songs, but this is where there kind of hits a section. I thought the Possum's a bit sloppy, the Way's a bit sloppy. I think they start to make choices that are, when they're clicking and they're really synced up and everything's going smoothly, it feels very effortless.
Right.
And I feel like through this first set, there's a lot of effort being put in, and there's a lot of things being missed. And they slam All Things Reconsidered.
Yeah.
They just blast through it, and that is a very hard song.
Right.
But then afterwards, that the Divided Sky, a lot of people say, it's a highlight of this first set.
Yeah.
And it just didn't. Maybe I'm delving too deep into detail, but I feel like if you're going to pick 100 shows from this band, you have to be, nitpicky. It didn't do it for me. I thought,
yeah,
technically it was great, but the improv, I felt them trying to grab something and not getting there.
right. Yeah,
I
I
don't know how you
completely
felt.
agree with you. I was very surprised that the Fluffhead and the Divided Sky were pegged for jam chart, at least things
Yeah.
on Fishnet. And yeah, they're both fine versions, but I wouldn't consider either of them to be standout versions. If I was thinking of playing a version for somebody, it wouldn't even, come onto my radar.
The Fluffhead was tight. It was
Yeah.
good, but
Yeah.
I think my excitement jumped in a lot of these songs because finally we're at Baby Grand territory.
Right.
And that's what really got me. This was exciting.
Right.
And even the little things, like it got me. And the Fluffhead with the Baby Grand really it showcased a different tone and a different, just more brushes in the palette.
Right.
You have bigger brushes and skinnier brushes, and you can really paint with more when you're, it defines the Phish sound. And we could talk a lot about this era in Phish and the progression that 93 is going to show us in the next handful of shows. And, I've had a lot of people argue that, August 93 is the best the band, one of those pinnacle months. And I find some really great stuff in there. And I've heard other people say it is just trash.
August 93?
It was them. Yes.
Who are
because they're learning
trash
they're
people?
learning improv.
Right.
But they're really like bigger stage, pushing the envelope, and they're really starting to take risks.
Yeah.
And I feel like this maybe, if you really break it to a bigger concept, maybe the push and pull that fails at times in this show is that the band is suffering growing pains.
Sure.
My daughter wakes up at night with her legs in pain all the time because she's growing fast. It's the same kind of thing in some of this show for me.
Okay.
I feel like they're trying to push to this thing and they're not quite there. So it is a
Right.
signpost, but I don't want to listen to it again for a while after this listen.
Right.
Which I shouldn't feel.
Yeah, I think, yeah. Well, we'll get into the second set when we get there. I mean, this is a
sure.
very just kind of standard first set. And I guess when I listened to it, I was thinking to myself, well, as long as nothing offends me per se, then this is still a worthy show because the second set just has so much going on in it. But
nothing offended me. I was fine.
But yeah, yeah, it was not offending set. But yeah, let's this show is about the second set. Let's talk about the second set. Let's just read it.
All right.
I'm going to read it real quick just for everyone.
Well, should we separate out the Wilson Reba for a hot minute first? Because
sure.
Technically, the set starts pretty standard. Wilson is such a great opener.
Yes. Standard
and
in
I thought
sense,
it showed signs.
Right. Yeah. There you go.
Of what's to come. There was some silliness.
Yeah.
It made me remember like 10/30/98 being in Vegas.
Right.
And being so pumped for those Halloween shows. That Wilson opener was a life-changing moment for me.
Right.
The energy that ripped the roof off that arena, and Wilson as a set opener really got me. And I think this was it set the table really well.
I agree.
It really did.
And it's a fantastic version of Wilson and
Yeah.
And a fantastic version of Reba. That's all I was going to say. Yes, it's a very, like, set list wise, very, very standard. But I feel like when I'm listening to it halfway through the Wilson, you're like, wow, they're giving this thing, as we like to say, some extra mustard. It's got...
yeah, and there's Reba. I liked it. I don't know that I liked it over lot. I feel this way about this Reba as I do the Fluffhead. I love Mike and Trey's tone at this time, and I enjoyed it. But it wasn't doing it for me. And I remember, I don't know if you were with me, but I know we mentioned this before, where I'd just gotten this DAT tape. I plugged it into my cassette. I had a cassette with an 1/8" out that I plugged into my DAT player.
Uh-huh.
And I was so excited about these shows, I put the DAT in and we skipped right to the Reba.
Right.
And started there. I think Dave Jolly was in the car. And I remember going north on the 5, and I think I was going... where was I going? I don't even remember. I was going towards North County. That's all I remember.
Uh-huh.
And I was just driving and listening to the Reba. And so, listening to it this time, it really clicked me back to that moment in time. And I remember being blown away,
Right.
both with the quality of the sound, but also the playing. And now looking back on it, am I jaded because I don't love it as much? I'm not sure.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I found it very moving. I thought it was a great Reba. I remember when you came home with the DAT that one day. Yeah, and you did say you're like, oh, I can't wait to hear the meat of the set. But I already listened to the Wilson Reba, and it was amazing. So I'm like super excited.
Yeah.
And then we kind of re-listened to it, and yeah, it was really great.
Do it. Read it through if that's what you want.
I will read it through, but since we're talking about the Reba,
okay.
Yeah, I guess I would agree that the entry into the jam could have been smoother. And I do feel like things like that, as we do get older and we get a little bit more jaded, kind of like affect you, because especially a song like Reba, you really want it to be perfect.
It peaks a little sloppy.
Yeah, so I agree. There is some stuff. As the type of listener I am, like when Trey does I know some people don't love his little cover flourishes or whatever, when he does his little Woody Woodpecker kind of dun, 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 he does it so perfect and is like so flawlessly woven in to the jam. You're like, how did you do that? At least I am. I mean, that's like what I laugh when I hear stuff like that. So I give it some points for that. And then I also really liked it.
That fails later, but we'll get to that. But it was executed really well in this remix.
Yeah. And then in the whistling part at the end, Fishman starts doing some really crazy rhythms like at the end. And I loved that as well. So, but I know a lot of this is kind of funny. If I listened to it in my car, I wouldn't have even heard or noticed that. But I listened to it on my headphones very intently. And I was just like, wow, that was great. So just a caveat with comments like that one. But yeah, let's read the set list. So just to kind of give you an idea, I'm going to read the first set too. So Golgi Apparatus, Foam, Sloth, Possum, Way, All Things Reconsidered, Divided Sky, Horse Silent, which is one song, Fluffhead, and then Cavern. Then for the second set, we have Wilson, Reba, Tweezer, Walk Away, Tweezer, Glide, Mike's Song, My Mind's Got a Mind of Its Own, Mike's Song, I Am Hydrogen, The Vibration of Life, Kung, I Am Hydrogen, Weekapaw Groove, Have Mercy, Weekapaw Groove, Rock and Roll All Night, Jam, Weekapaw Groove, Fast Enough for You, Big Ball Jam, Hold Your Head Up, Terrapin, Hold Your Head Up, Harry Hood, Tweezer, Replease, Encore, Sleepy Monkey. Did I say Replease? Anyway, I read that. I'm sure that wasn't fun to listen to, but we just wanted to give you an idea about how crazy the set was. So basically those two sets were the same length in time, but there was a double amount of songs in the second one. So they were weaving in and out.
It's the first Segway Fest.
Segway Fest. So they're weaving in and out of songs.
And Phish has a number.
Teases. And yeah, like Sam said, some of it works, some of it doesn't. Well, what should we do first? Let's Sam, tear it apart, and then I'll try and bring it back up a little bit.
Yeah, we go song by song, I guess. So if I pan out, the bird's eye view for me is, the tweezer kicks in. It's strange right off the bat. You can tell they're trying for different things. How's everybody feeling?
Right.
So put your hands together. How's everybody feeling?
I thought there was some really silly, and I love the silly.
Yeah.
And basically from that tweezer until Fast Enough for You, there's not a solo.
Right.
And that really struck me. This was a band pushing through, at 50 minutes of material.
That's a good point.
Without anyone really stepping out.
Yeah.
I thought there was some really good playing at times. I thought the glide jumped in and was kind of fun.
Yeah.
I thought the Walk Away substituted any sort of improvisation in the tweezer, which was weird.
Sure.
And sometimes they'll do that, like the Yem Frankenstein Yem from 7/8/94. Like that is quintessential music, and they use Frankenstein. Trey uses that instead of his solo in the song.
Right.
Which is incredible.
Yeah.
This does not achieve that, but I see that's what they're attempting.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of attempts here, but then the mics is trash. Like, I don't get it. So, it kicks off with Funny, which I think the 330-93 mics where it's my song is great. Like where Mike's dedicating the song to himself. They do like a little teasing of that in this. And then it hits the jam section. And then Trey basically starts randomly playing. He plays Reba. He plays Lizards. He plays Wilson. He plays Stash. He's just playing random sections of his own material.
Right.
For no reason in random places, and the rest of the band is just going, what the fuck? And then somehow at the end, it's like 7 minutes into that, Mike just starts playing something that's up high on the neck and sticks out.
Right.
And then the whole band listens to him, and all of a sudden everything calms down. And there's this moment, and he goes into My Mind's Got a Mind of Its Own for like a minute. It's not even the song.
Mm-hmm.
And then it goes into all the Weekapaw stuff, which again kind of it never coalesces into anything solid. Oh, I'm sorry, the Hydrogen, Vibration of Life, Hydrogen. Yeah. There's some really good playing in there, but nothing is ever finished. I feel like a Segway Fest works best when there's a natural, smooth transition into something. Mm-hmm. And this, to me, feels like a lot of forced transitions, one after the other. It's weird.
Correct. Yeah, I think we don't know if this is true or not, because I know that it's not brought up in really any of these reviews. But back in the Farmer's Almanac, there was a review about this show that mentioned that Trey and Mike were butting heads, as I mentioned in the previous episode, and they were not happy, and they were kind of, egos were getting the best of them. And that was referenced later in the show in the Terrapin when Fishman sings and says, we're laid back. And then they try and give him the cue to get off. And he even resists and says, no, because we're a laid back band. So we don't know for sure. But
the band intros in that are some of the high points of the show for me. I thought that was hysterical. I loved that.
But it rings true to me. And when I listen to the whole set, I feel like I can hear it. I guess maybe not so much until the mics. Because I feel like until the mics, it's kind of standard. They're just not kind of like locking on, but they are almost just kind of like, let's make it crazy, and this is how we're going to try and do it. I really did enjoy the tweezer quite a bit. It wasn't very long, but I wasn't expecting it to be long. But I thought that like the Straight from the Sewer kind of vocal ticks added a nice sort of polyrhythm to it, and kind of had like this psychedelic echo, which I really enjoyed. Walk Away was well played. Segues were really good. I loved the glide. I thought the glide was really great. It brought a huge smile to my face. I thought it was really well
I thought it was fun.
Played. Yeah,
I thought that was that point where the set could have taken a really like playful turn.
I agree that the mics is rough. I guess when I listen to it, I don't think about it in terms of it being like a piece of music that is aesthetically pleasing me. I like listening to it as a sort of artifact of a band struggling to connect with each other. But at the same time, they're throwing their virtuosity just against the wall. Like even like Mike is doing such an admirable job of trying to battle or keep up with Trey. I don't know what his intention was during that whole affair. But to me, I guess it's kind of like a movie that you're watching that you're like, I don't want to watch this, but I can't look away, or I don't know how to describe it, but to me it's an enjoyable experience. So I think I hear what you're saying. I'm not disagreeing with you at all. I do want to go back to Glide real quick. I think Glide is such a killer song. And when I first met you, I think you had a purple Glide t-shirt on that was like the Tide symbol. I was always really jealous of that lot shirt. And it's kind of like there are cool songs to like and not cool songs to like. And a lot of that I think probably was semi-defined by lot shirts and things of that nature. But I always felt like Glide was one of those songs that... not a lot of people know, but if you said it to like an old head or someone had been to a lot of shows and be like, I really love Glide, even though it's a simple kind of catchy song, they would respect that. As opposed if you said Bouncin', or sample, they'd be like, get the fuck out of here. But if you say Glide, they'd be like, you know what you're talking about, kid.
Yeah, I love all those songs, but Glide is one of those that you're not going to hear very often. But
Yeah.
I guess 93, 94, it was a lot more, but it's fantastic.
Yeah.
There's improvised versions out there. It hits, it's hard, it's weird to see live, in a big place. It just, yeah, I love it. And I thought this version was fine.
Yeah.
It was fine.
And I also think it's funny about the Reba. I was going to say this before, that Phish fans have such like particular taste, and that we have such a belief that our taste is the right taste. Or I remember a long time ago, I had bought this bootleg, like a bootleg CD from a used CD store, 4494, The Flynn Show. And I really liked that Reba a lot, but I was like a fairly new Phish fan, I mean, I'd probably heard like 12 Rebas at that time, and I got that CD and I loved it, and I was putting it on a mix for somebody, and you saw that I was putting it on a mix, and he's like, what are you doing? You're like, that Reba's no good. And he totally chastised me for liking that Reba. And I just and I remember it very fondly, because it just kind of made me realize, like, it kind of excited in a way that I was like, oh, I think this Reba's good, and he's saying it's like, what? So I was very excited for all the Rebas I was about to hear, and I'm sure that you clued me into some shortly after that. But yeah, it was just.
But the bigger thing on that is, I love certain versions of songs that no one knows about, or they don't care about, or they get passed over, either because I saw them, or in the same way I had a bootleg tape or a bootleg CD. Just buying those bootleg CDs was such a different time. But you go to a store and you spend $40 on 2 CDs because you were so excited for the show, and now you can go online and just listen for free. But I want my money back. But I'm so deeply connected to versions of songs that the general Phish world sees as non-existent.
Yeah.
So that was me trying to be, pompous about my blah blah blah, and I've been listening. But what actually matters is that you love that,
right?
And it'd be the same with this show. If I found someone like, this is my top 3 Phish shows, this show changed my life, I'd say, man, I'm glad you love Phish that much. This is great.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna, I'm gonna say I don't like that show so much,
right?
But we can all, enjoy different things, and still we're nitpicking something we love to death.
Yeah, and I don't think you were totally wrong. I've gone back and listened to that Reba and actually questioned, being like, what did I love so much about that Reba? But it just kind of goes to show you, it's a lot of it is about state of mind and the moment, and just sometimes it is just the speakers or whatever the source you're listening to, and just 2 instruments kind of cue up at the right time and hits your ear in the right way and really moves you. You never know what it's going to be, but yeah, we all, no hard feelings, obviously. But back to the show.
Sure.
So where are we?
You're at the end of Mike's, I hope.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there are some. My mind's got a mind of its own is really problematic, and you're right. It is. It is.
But you can feel Mike.
It is a little bit painful.
Pulling the ripcord and getting out of there.
Yeah.
He kind of does a look at me little bass run.
Yeah.
And then somehow it ends up there. It's very strange.
And Mike.
I like his little bass run though.
And he does that kind of like, I can recall a few instances, like even with Walk the Line, where he kind of like, where things are getting really chaotic, and then he kind of like goes high with the bass, plays a little something to catch our attention, and then goes with a little solo a cappella classic to kind of transition you out. Vibrational Life Kung was okay. It's not my favorite renditions of those songs.
And the Hydrogen was good.
Yeah, Hydrogen was good. But I did really love the Weekapa Have Mercy rock and roll, and I'm kind of reminded here as I look at the timing, and it's 53 seconds when I was talking last week about how much I love it, and I do listen to it all the time. I guess in my head I just kind of combined it with the Weekapa, and I think of like the whole Weekapa as the rock and roll all night Weekapa.
Yeah, I guess my downside is that Weekapa was such a ripping song through 92, 93, like that stretch. That was the bringing it on home. Like really, the band could tear it up. And there's week of pause around this one,
Right.
such as the one from 3:30, 93, a couple weeks after this, that is incredible.
Right.
But this one, it's basically right at the beginning of the song, and they jump into Have Mercy for one verse,
Yeah.
which kills all the energy. Then they jump from that into the Rock and Roll All Night, which is funny, but doesn't really do much. And then it goes back into Weekapaw, but there's no real solo or nothing really happens.
Right.
They just shift between these feels and these different songs, kind of tongue in cheek, but there's never really any virtuosity.
No.
And there's not a ton of tightness either. So I think it has energy.
Yeah.
And I'm sure in the room it was awesome and funny, and like everyone was having a great time, and it was loud.
Yeah.
But we're here to re-listen to a band's greatest moments of its storied career. That sticks out to me as a sore thumb rather than a greatest moment. It's weird,
Right.
but I do understand the energy.
Is it possible that there's a disconnect here because as a musician, you listen to this and you're like, I can totally see how this is done and how they could have done it much better, and I see where the mistakes are being made, and I'm kind of listening to it and just kind of being kind of awed at the spectacle of it just being like, I'm not really giving it any sort of musical consideration in terms of mistakes that are being made or things that they should be doing. I'm just thinking about it in terms of wow, this is crazy. A band can do this. I've not heard a band play 30 songs in a single set and do this sort of like they're actually listening to each other. And and I understand that they do that in their other music, but it's so contained within the composition and you don't really know exactly what's happening. But like in a jam like this, a lot of the songs, a lot of the teases, and I don't know. I guess I really appreciate the bonkers mood that they were in that night and the fact that we have a recording of it. I guess it's like, I don't know. I think of some nights I have at work where, I leave work and I was like, what just happened inside my body tonight? And I think that's something that happened. And I think it's kind of like cool to look at that. And I said all these same comments about the Ian's Farm. I think we're kind of treading similar waters here.
Well, I think less as a musician, but more as a fan of Phish and of the lore and of the catalog. I would jump directly to a year and change from this and go to the Bomb Factory as an example of that is a spontaneous segue fest that runs through a ton of songs, covers, originals, and is executed with much better technical precision, much better band communication, and contains absolutely revelatory improvisation.
Yes.
That show is a standalone top 10 in a band's career, unmistakable genius.
Yeah.
And I feel like putting this into that 100 category, I understand how this is, I use the word signpost too much in this podcast, but it is. We're putting a sign in the ground. We're stamping our flag here and saying that this is something that we are going to achieve as a band.
Right.
We are going to be this loose on stage. I've been in bands where we try to do this kind of thing traditionally in practice, but there'll be a practice. We smoke a little pot and we're like, start playing. And all of a sudden we just ran through 4 or 5 songs, and it is so much fun to do as a musician.
Right.
So from that perspective, I'm sure aspects of this was really fun for some of the band.
Yeah.
But if someone wasn't on board, like you saying, Mike and Trey may have been unhappy with each other.
Although it just seems
I
like
could see
in
how it
Mike's,
was tortured.
really, yeah, when Mike was going on when Trey was going on his tease fest.
Yeah.
That being said, I think the Lizards works. I really do. A lot of those teases don't work, but for me, the Lizards really works.
It's just whipping out composition in a different key in the middle of a song. What the fuck is happening right now?
But yeah, I guess I just think that, or especially when I was a younger fan, and I still kind of do now, I thought that stuff was so cool. Like at Big Birch in '94 when they did the Cavern Cavern Wilson Cavern, and
That
just
is
like
very cool.
yeah,
yes.
just like mashing that up and just. But you're right though. I mean, like if I am juxtaposing this in my head compared to the Bomb Factory, it's a no competition comparison. But I also think that this kind of has to be in the top 100 because if I am having a list of top 100 shows, I want to have as many sides possible. And like I said at the beginning of this episode, I really do view this as a hybrid improv comedy rock show. Like I can't
Sure.
even, especially that second set, I can't even look at it like it's a musical concert because it is so ridiculous. It is a joke in and of itself, the whole thing. So yeah.
Well, let's put ourselves, and I always like to do this, we'll put ourselves in the body of the listener who's never heard this band.
Yeah.
And they're choosing to listen to this podcast and go through the 100 shows with us. I mean, we're at 5.
Right.
And the next show we're doing is Gamehenge. So that means you've just listened to a band play 6 shows, and you've gone from Ian's Farm in 1987 to the Gamehenge show in 93. I mean, just look at the last 3.
Yeah.
The 4/16/92 is a big, raucous, loud, push pedal to the metal affair. This is a weird, segue-filled push and pull, and then Gamehenge is a band basically performing a storytelling rock opera.
Right.
Just as half of the show, let alone the other half. I mean, it's a lot of band to digest.
Yes.
And this may be one of those that I have to wait till later.
Yeah.
Because there's some shows I love in this era.
Mm-hmm.
And I know later in this list of 100, there's some packed areas where there's, we're going to do 5 podcasts in a row of a week of shows.
Right.
The 97 gets pretty squished.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I'll look back at this and feel like it should be there.
Fair enough.
But pushing post Weekapaw, there was some really great stuff towards the end of the show here
Mm-hmm.
that I didn't remember because I'd always listened to this big Segway Fest and think it was so great.
Right.
And there's some really nice stuff towards the end here. I thought the Fast Enough for You was, I mean, I've always been a fan of that song.
Right.
And I remember early, when I first got into Phish, a friend of my now wife's, who was my friend at the time, she said Fast Enough for You was the end of Phish. She said this was Phish taking what they do and just destroying it.
Yeah.
A Phish ballad is going to be the end of Phish. She was sure, like, this is it. They're done. I've always loved the song. I loved it then. I didn't understand what she meant, but also I tried to be cool because she was, old school Phish fan.
Right.
This was like 93. And I thought that this was great.
Yeah.
And it was a solo, finally. It was a beautiful Trey solo. I thought it was a nice way to calm down what had just happened.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what happened to this lady? Does she still not like Phish? Is she a big Soul Planet fan? Where's she at?
I haven't seen her in years. She was in my wedding, and I know she last lived in Winooski, last I heard about her, which is just outside of Burlington. She still sees tons and tons of shows. I remember being at New Year's 96 in Boston.
Yeah.
Her and my wife, who was neither my wife nor girlfriend at the time, we were staying at my grandmother's. It was me and Ryan flew back for the New Year's shows at Boston. We saw the 30th and 31st at the Fleet Center.
Right.
We took the train. My grandma lived in Newton, so we took the train in and back both nights. And I remember that first night, which I mentioned previously on the podcast with this Stephen Wright bell in the Son of a Mule. That night, that second set had a gorgeous tweezer. And I remember riding home with her and her saying how much she hated tweezer, how much she hated jamming, and she just wished the band would play their songs really well.
Right.
And how she thought jamming was such a waste of time for her at a show.
I love it. I love all that.
So I don't know where she is. And honestly, to my wife's credit, I feel like, she got into Phish 92, 93, this period.
Yeah.
She didn't love the improvisation and continues to not love the improvisation.
Right, yeah. Well, it's a different thing
for the silliness and the songs and the,
I completely
So,
understand not wanting to do the work with the improvisation. it is work sometimes.
The more you put in, the more you get out.
Well,
But it's a lot to put in.
a mouthful
It's a lot
there.
to put in.
I agree with you. And then we have the wonderful Terrapin from Fishman.
Oh, you forgot the big ball jam.
Oh, Big Ball Jam. You know what? Actually, I just tune it out. I actually, my
Yeah,
brain
I
does
know.
a really good job of, as soon as Big Ball Jam starts, I just tune out. And then when the next song starts, did something happen? Because I think I missed it. I went to.
Yeah, how do we square that? Because it debuted on this tour, I believe, and I feel like, I only saw one,
Right.
but as an audience interaction thing for a year or two there, I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think it's them trying to find a way to connect with their audience in a different way.
Right.
Musically, on the back end here, I don't see its purpose.
No. Yeah. I mean, musically, there's nothing there, but it is just another thing off the checklist of, we're a band that improvises rhythmic music to a bouncing ball in the audience in a cooperative improvisational manner, and just being able.
Well,
to...
everyone has their own colored ball.
Yeah.
So there's 4 balls.
Even better.
And you have to make your sound when the audience hits your ball.
Yeah.
And somehow make it work with the other band members. So
Right.
it's complex. I don't know.
I think it helped. I think
I
it
can't
helped
tell.
make them better musicians in a very subtle way. I think that it helped solidify their ability to pull off these compositions, which were kind of accusing them of failing a little bit. In the end, it was exercises like these and Fill Your Hay Hole that I think really, helped teach the band how to do this stuff. So yeah, I'm not going to shit on it. Like, I think if I was at the show, great, super fun, And
Can I make a Pete Holmes style pun and just say it takes balls to do this?
Yeah, it does take balls to do it. Absolutely. That was a great fun. And I think that there are so many people that are just like, but it messes up the flow, or, it's killing the flow or sucking the energy. And,
Not if you're watching it.
Yeah, and not if you're watching it. And give me a break. Like, I see how many beers are being drinking out there. How many times do you go take a piss during a show? You don't count that for sucking energy out of it? I don't want to hear your bullshit. So, yeah, let the band
Yeah, I
have
don't
some
drink
fun.
or use the bathroom at shows, but that's because I'm weird.
That's because you're a smart man.
Yeah, I got better things to do.
Yeah. So Big Ball Jam.
And then the Terrapin
Yeah.
was these band intros and there's a stretch. I think my favorite is Fishman. He just knows the first name of some guy. He's like, that guy's traveling with us too. I think his name is like, Harry or something, and then Trey has to remember his last name.
Yeah.
This is for our friend Jamie, who's a big fan of Sid Barrett as well. This is a sort of... Whenever we pretend to have a glass of red wine, it gets kind of slaying back. On the keyboards this evening, we have Mr. Paige McConnell. And on the soundboard this evening, we have Mr. Paul Languedoc, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Paul Sitting here on the corner of the drum riser, we have Mr. Brad Sands, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Brad Sands. On the drums, Mr. Trey Anastasio. On the light board, Mr. Chris Kuroda. And in the back, selling t-shirts and stuff, and the Willis tape, Miss Amy Skelton. We love you, Amy. We also have Mr. Peter Shaw on the monitor board. There's Mark right there behind Brad. I don't know Mark's last name, but he's with us too. And Bob Newman is with us.
Mark Vincent.
Mark Vincent, ladies and gentlemen. Mark Vincent. Hey, none of that. Now, I'm sorry this is taking so long, but we're very laid back here. Very, very laid back. And Mr. Michael Gordon. My name is Tubbs, the little hairy beast man. Thank you very much. And we'd like to do a love song for you right now.
It's a good band intro.
Yeah.
And I think Fishman does a nice job of cooling. I think all these songs in some ways cool the show off a little.
Right.
And they really take their time stepping down on the cool off, which is great. I think that does a good job. And then To the Hood, which is also much lauded.
Yeah. What did you think of the Hood?
I wrote pretty great. Much needed catharsis after all of the rest of that.
Yeah.
And it's pretty great. I like the segue out of the Terrapin. It had to be, based on listening, it had to be one of those hand the sticks over, which I love when Trey and Fishman, Trey's on drums.
Yeah.
And Fishman goes back up there and they have to, Trey will keep playing with his feet and Fishman will take the sticks and play with the sticks. And then Trey will slowly move off and Fishman will move one foot in. And, I've watched it happen many times, and to hear it musically, how they seamlessly don't drop the beat while they're shifting someone into the drum kit.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was a smooth transition and really nice.
Yeah.
Out of a show rife with shitty transitions, I thought this was a really nice, smooth, well-executed transition into a perfectly played Hood.
Yeah, I agree. It was the perfect finish, and that was well said. I did think the transition
Tweet
into
Prize,
the mics was pretty...
I love.
Speaking of transitions, just because you mentioned, I did note that I thought the transition...
The glide mics?
Yeah, I thought that was a really cool transition. But
that was good.
And
honestly, to lie, I thought that the way Tweezer went into glide was kind of nice too. That stretch was good.
Had a good stretch. The Hood. I really enjoyed
underselling
the Hood intro. I was really impressed with Paige. I have a note here that says Paige MVP of Hood intro. And then so great finish to a set. And then I want to talk about Sleeping Monkey a little bit. I feel like Sleeping Monkey is a little bit of a controversial song. I think the lyrics are very silly, obviously. They're pretty stupid. But it's a nice juxtaposition of earnest into stupid. And I think that juxtaposition,
sure,
a lot of people don't like. But I'm a big Monkey fan, especially after a show like this. I feel like it's a great celebratory, kind of cathartic, fun ballad that's perfect for these early years for Phish. And I used to love it later. But really what I wanted to talk about was that in Gorge, we saw the Gorge 98 show, and they encored with Sample. And I know that at that time, even I had seen too many samples. Samples, like one of those shows where, just like, God, another sample? But they played it in a way at the Gorge that I remember you looking over and just kind of saying, well, if they're going to play it like that, you can play it every night.
Yeah, I love that.
Ahead.
I love that song, and that was a fun night.
And I think of Sleeping Monkey, and then also at the Sleeping Monkey at the Vegas Halloween, the Loaded set, our friend Matt D said the same thing at the end of the show. Because he hated Sleeping Monkey. That was like a song that I remember early on. He was just like, I can't listen to Sleeping Monkey. I don't like that show or that song. That's stupid. But when they played it at Vegas at the end, he was like, man, that Sleeping Monkey.
It's that Beatles turn. The bam, 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 bam. Like it just builds to the solo. And when Trey hits the solo right and Fishman's screaming behind the drums. it's funny to juxtapose the last show Encore with Sleeping Monkey, and my notes for that were not positive. It says tough harmonies but ripping solo.
Yeah.
And I thought this was a much better version.
Yeah.
It was clean, organized, band seemed tight, and solo was great.
Yeah.
It's such a throw your arm around the guy next to you, like we had a good time kind of song.
Yeah.
And yes, the lyrics are silly, and the Beatles, pull is kind of weird. I don't get this song. I don't know where to put it. I feel the same way as you. We could talk I don't go back and read all these song histories as much as some fans probably do.
Yeah.
I don't know the history of this song, but I'm curious as to what it's all about.
I guess I kind of
I don't get
it. But yeah, I do think it starts
Oh.
really pretty, and I feel like I always kind of like the songs that kind of start pretty, and it feels like it's going to be one thing and then turns into something else. But I agree, this particular version, Fishman got a little shuffle going at the end, just as Trey was starting to like soar, and just I was like, wow, this is a great ending. So I definitely
A little extra mustard.
Yeah, left it on a positive note for sure.
Yeah, the whole I thought we can take Big Ball Jam out. I thought Fast Enough for You through Sleeping Monkey was a nice way to end the show.
Yeah,
but it did leave me thinking. The Wilson Reba was such a nice opener. That was such a nice closer. What if we just had a big, gorgeous tweezer and a really nice Mike's Hydrogen Weekapaw that was real exploratory and interesting?
yeah.
And then those two other things bookended it.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, but
I'm being the naysayer. I'm
still
trying to juxtapose.
I'm still team comedy on this one, and that just I like the chaos and the funniness, and just I love to hear their personalities come out at the music, even if it's at the expense of the music, especially in the context of I'm not there, I'm not I don't know what I would have thought of the show. I guess it depends on where you are in your Phish career. So if you had been seeing them, since the mid 80s, you probably been very shocked and might have hated the show, had you have seen it. And if you were like a total newbie, you would have just been completely confused. So yeah, it is a confounding show.
Some of the reviews were people that were there. I remember there's one from a taper that mentioned the fire alarm went off at one time because of all the smoke, and no one moved or gave a shit, and that it just the lights and the noise was just part of the music, and that it was crazy and the energy was high. It seems like if you were there, it was a overall positive experience.
Right.
But that also could be a hindsight kind of thing, because I've seen shows that I thought were incredible and walked away and no one remembers them. And I've seen shows I thought, that was all right. And then 10 years later, everyone's, oh my God, that's a perfect show.
Right.
Like I in the moment, I think the energy does help shape your view of it, and it seems like people that were there really had a great time.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what pushed it over the edge into being the 100 is, the Phish Companion probably has a lot of Phish fans that 91, 92, 93 was when they got into Phish.
Right.
And this show really was a departure for the band in a unique way, right in the middle of a run of shows that's, considered to be great. I mean, the band put it out as a box set.
Yeah.
That box set's got to cost like $150. So the band really felt that way too.
Right.
And I think the night before, like you said, has some good parts. The third night has some good parts.
Yeah.
There's some really well executed material on both sides of this show.
Yes.
But this was considered the meat in the sandwich. And so they have to stand by it.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to me.
Totally. And I'm sure it's probably funny for them to listen to as well, just as a time capsule artifact.
How do those meetings go, do you think, where someone from publishing a publicist comes up and says, all right, we're thinking about, people really love this show and we're thinking about putting it. Do you think the band goes back and listens to the show? Do you think that they're like, you know what, I played it, it's behind me, I don't care, do it?
I think it depends. I mean, I don't know. I tend to think that Mike listens. Mike seems like a listener. He just seems like he's not going to listen to that one magic show where he had his experience that convinced him to be a bass player. And he's been pretty clear about that. But everything else, he does seem to like listen to whole tours. And he did that run of Live Phish where he chose the shows. And or maybe they all chose one, huh? And he chose the Portland 98 show was his choice.
Yeah, I always listen back, and I still do, to bands I was in, and I very much enjoy listening to material that, we executed together. But there's a lore in some ways as well about a show where band members are fighting, like the From the Vault,
Right.
Volume 2, where supposedly Jerry pushed Phil down a flight of stairs and was so pissed off at him and hated, everything they were playing, and was so angry and so just physically distraught. And it turns out that was some of the backing music to Anthem of the Sun,
Right.
and became Two from the Vault.
Right.
As this, eponymous, beautiful, like the second real live release the band ever put out.
Right.
And there was hatred and animosity between the guitarist and bassist in that show. So maybe, some of that kind of magic happened in this too, where they may have been fighting, but it created something special for listeners.
It created attention. Yeah, I think as we get
maybe.
a little bit later, there are going to be some jams that I think we know they were not happy with each other in, and we can kind of like talk about them.
Sure.
Yeah, well, that was super fun.
Good.
We've done the show.
I'm on the fence on this one. I'm not going to decide. There'll come a time later.
Good.
Maybe when we talk next. But
I'm not
sure if this is on the list.
I recall several years ago listening to this show with my buddy Rich, and when it was all over, we both had that same comment where we're just kind of like, I don't need to listen to this for a while. And it was because of that same stretch. But for some reason, when I listen to it now, it didn't bother me. So, things do evolve. And
it's good.
And I can't say this for you, but so many of these 99 shows that we saw live that I just like didn't appreciate, when I listen to them now, I'm like, man, this is incredible. Like,
yeah.
So, and I don't know what that is.
I had a really great time in 99. I really did.
Yeah,
I thought
no, me too. But I still felt
2000 was rougher in some ways.
Yeah. Well, 2000 was cleaner. We're going down
that Irvine 99 show. Do you remember Irvine 99?
Yeah.
That was, I remember, when I was a kid, I lived, spitting distance from that venue.
Right.
Used to go sneak into Wild Rivers all the time.
Yeah.
And I danced my ass off at that show. I had so much fun.
Yeah.
And I just remember everyone around me was like, yeah, show was okay. I was like, guys, I'm exhausted. I'm sweaty. I had it was such a party. I had such a good time. And I thought San Diego 99 again was, we were so close up front, and your brother was there.
Yeah, he was. That was my brother's, brother's one and only show.
I wasn't with you. You were back right on the front of the second section, like on the lawn section.
Right. Yeah.
And then we were further up. But I remember that show. I remember looking back where you were a bunch of times.
That's a perfect example of a show.
There were some good shows that ran.
That was a perfect example of a show that, because my brother was there and I wanted it to be so special, and I had like an idea of what I wanted them to do for him, that they didn't do exactly that. So, I mean, I liked the show. I mean, I was aware I saw a 20-plus minute Boogie on Reggae Woman. I'm not, I was not immune to that fact. I did think it was a good show, but I still was just kind of like, he liked it, but he wasn't blown away. So I kind of left the show kind of feeling maybe, a touch defeated or whatever. But when they released it, and
you told me that he liked the Harry Hood.
What's that?
He said, I liked that reggae song they played, which was the Harry Hood intro. I remember you telling me that.
Great memory. But yeah, when I re-listened to it, I was like, oh, this is actually a really great show.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun that night. And I thought Portland, too, that second set, I remember the reggae blowing my mind.
Right, me too.
But that whole second set at Portland was great.
Although upon re-listen, I don't love that reggae so much, but the Ghost... and the Ghost is
the Ghost
incredible.
Was good.
The Bathtub Gen from the first set. But yeah, that reggae blew my mind. But then the reggae from Vegas 2000, that was like the real mind blower. And that it was like a little bit sloppy in the composed section, but that the jam from that, what was that, 929?
Isn't that the one they would put on video?
Or it's 930. Okay, yeah, so it's from the first set of 930. Yeah, it was the Bathtub Gin there from the 920.
The Walfredo opener, that one.
Okay. Well, a little 99 talk, just to give you a little preview of the future.
I love that stuff.
Sam, are you recommending anything this week?
Well, I just want to say about Future before. I have one recommendation, but the next episode, I'm very excited. I haven't listened to 32293 in a very long time. Gamehenge is Gamehenge. I think we're going to have to really study up on the lore of the Henge, which
Oh, more.
rock opera potentially. I'm not sure. What's your stance on rock operas? Are they trash? Are they good? What constitutes a rock opera? Does this actually have enough story to be a story, or is it a cobbled together kind of, amalgam that fans seek because it hasn't been played a lot, and once they see it, they're like, I don't know. I'm not sure. But I know as a fan of the band, it always has had heavy lore of, did you see a Gamehenge? Have you ever seen a Gamehenge? And I've missed one by a day, so I feel like a dick.
Yeah.
But, I'm waiting for them to pull it out again.
Yeah.
I hope it happens.
I've never...
But I'm excited to listen to this one.
Just to answer you, I've never considered this a rock opera. Although
Okay.
maybe people do. I don't. But I like to think of it as like a mythological song cycle. And then to answer your second question,
Okay.
I love rock operas. Let's talk about some rock operas at the end of next episode. I'm coming in hard.
No, I got a lot to talk about. Well, it'll be good. So my only recommendations this week, one is a Phish recommendation because the 7/23/97 came out.
Yeah.
Official release through Live Phish, and that second set, I thought that the trio of the Ghost, when you mentioned Sample in a Jar earlier, that Ghost, Sample in a Jar, You Enjoy Myself, that's my perfect coda of music.
Insane. Yeah.
It was balls to the wall energy. I thought it was so great. I really, really got into that and thoroughly enjoyed it. There was some deep, interesting. I liked a lot of that show, but that playing was something else.
Yeah.
I really loved it.
Yeah. And again, thanks, Kevin.
And then,
go.
Yes, keep the 97s coming because there's some shows I was at that, on that tour. That was my big tour, but we didn't start till Arizona, and then we saw Arizona till the end. But there's every show from that tour was unique and different, and there's a few I'd love some better sounding copies of. The Gorge, I don't know, just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
And then, have you heard of Silk Sonic?
Well, yeah, I heard
about it today.
Yeah. I watched their official video and their performance from the Grammys last night, and yeah, it was great.
Leave the Door Open.
Yeah.
You can find it on Spotify. It's Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak, and I think it's great.
Yeah, it's really funny too.
It's I don't watch the Grammys. I actually said to Emily this morning, you start hearing about it and everyone's talking about it. You're like, are the Grammys irrelevant?
Oh, did I
I'm
give
not
the
sure.
impression that I watched the Grammys? I fucking hate the Grammys. I despise
But are
them
they
to my
irrelevant?
core. But yeah, I read about Silk Sonic, so I watched the video on YouTube. I just want to make that clear real quick.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm so glad that Fiona Apple won the Best Alternative Album because I would have been just so furious. There would have been a rant that you would have had to listen to if she hadn't have won. So thank God she did. But
yeah, people go ahead and win your award. I think it's gonna be a big statement, but I think anyone who performs any form of art on a small to large scale, winning awards is good because it helps get you monetary income, which makes it more possible for you to create the kind of art you want to create. But the award itself means absolutely nothing to anyone who's actually making real art.
that's correct.
So the purpose of these awards, people get really excited about Oscar season. Did you hear Oscar season's coming up? Did you hear about this movie I've never heard about that's nominated for a best foreign film? And yes, it helps get the word out about these things that exist that none of us have heard about. But I think the physical award itself doesn't actually do anything for these people.
Right.
I'm not sure. And I've never won anything, so fuck do I know. Second place in some, sporting event when I was 12, I'm sure, but that's about it.
All I have to say is that, I think the awards are great for new artists because they open doors and kind of bring them open. But in terms of Beyonce, however many Grammys she has, 43 or whatever number it is, it's ridiculous. And I don't.
I mean, she's a goddamn diva. She's a goddess. She doesn't need awards. She's Beyonce.
Yeah, like just
she's Prince. She's one word. She is.
Yeah, just give it to somebody who's gonna make a difference in their life. Like let's shine some light to some people that we don't know of. That's what I think these type of things should be used for. But yeah, I don't want to waste any breath or any of my precious time on this planet discussing the Grammys any longer.
But I enjoyed that song. And I thought it was funny. I thought it was super tight, neo, soul, like funny, happy. We all need as much happy as we can get our hands on.
Yeah.
It made me laugh and smile.
And I'm glad to be able to appreciate Bruno Mars as well. I remember reading a Rolling Stone article about him like a couple of years ago, or interview with him, and he just came off so egotistical. I was just like, I can't. I don't care how much talent you have, but I'm giving him a reboot. I'm opening my mind. I'm not taking his personality into consideration, and I'm going to appreciate his music.
Yeah, and I think Anderson's super talented
too.
Oh
yeah, I like Anderson.
I haven't loved a lot of his music, but I've liked a lot of it. And I thought, can I say again? I constantly bring up my children. His work in Trolls 2 was wonderful. Looking at that from a non-comedic standpoint, he did bring something really interesting to that film, trying to bridge the gap between older funk and modern funk. And I thought that song that he performed showcased a lot of his skills on a big, broad scale. And I think it opened up the world to, like, my kids will listen to this song and I can go, oh, this is the guy from that, and they'll love it. So it helps open the door to, I love when these really talented artists do children's things because it really does start kids getting into this kind of stuff. I mean, this goes way back to, Harry Nilsson and George Harrison working together. The Point, or was that Ringo Starr?
No, that's Harry Nilsson. Yeah.
Yeah, teaching, waking kids up into modern, really interesting musicians, but through kids' movies.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. We work so hard at training our kids properly with the classical music and whatever it takes. And I'll just finish this episode by saying I don't have anything to recommend, but you reminded me as we were talking about kid stuff that I tried to play the foam from this 220 show for my kids in the car this afternoon. We got about 3 minutes in, and my 4-year-old says, "Daddy, you turn down the music? It's hurting my brain." And I said, you know what? I completely understand. I will switch it to the Beastie Boys or Ghostbusters or whatever needs to happen. So I get it.
I get the daddy. Is there any more singing? This is boring. They'll sit and play instruments with me for half an hour straight without singing, but if they won't, this is a dad's podcast, by the way. Now
it's instinctual.
The Phish thing.
All right. Well, let's call it, shall we?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay.
It's been great as always. We'll see everybody next episode for Gamehenge.
So long, everyone.
Bye. Hello there, friends, and thank you for listening. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or would like to reach out to Ian and I about anything at all, you can find us at companion2thecompanion@gmail.com.